Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the final word. Huddersfield Town 1, Everton 2 in the Carabao Cup. Everton are through to the third round of the Carabao Cup. We will find out who we play, I think, tonight. I think the draw is tonight.
Third round draws tonight, isn't it?
Tonight, isn't it?
The last games are tonight, so I imagine so.
So a much changed Everton team, obviously. Nine changes?
Well, Keane was in there.
Nine changes.
Holgate was back in there.
There's 9 changes. Don't confuse things for people. It's 9 changes. Iwobi and Michael Keane retained their places, but obviously there was a lot of changes elsewhere in the team. A lot of players making their first game of the season, which I think you know, it disabled the team. It's always a risk. It's always a risk when you play this game this early, because you would always want to give players an opportunity. You always want to see a few players. You can sit on the bench. Opportunity for a couple of players maybe coming back from injury or whatever. So it's always a little bit of a risky one. But if you do get through, it doesn't really matter what the performance is. It's about getting through and giving games of football. And for me, that's what happened last night. It wasn't a great game. We know that they were up for it. They wanted to get a Premier League scalp. But ultimately, in the end, the little bit of class that we've got and the substitutes helped us get through and get into the next round.
Well, it's a championship side. The transfer window's still open. So you'd like to think. I think most managers use the League Cup games. Certainly Premier League managers as a chance to shop window some of the players. So I thought it'd be more like trying to get players like Delph in there, maybe players like Gomez who they would accept a bid for. I imagine so if one came in.
See, I don't ever think like that.
But then I said to you, didn't they? I can imagine they'd have a strong side with some first teamers and some squad players, and you could probably say there's more squad players than first teamers in the side yesterday. It's always a risk when you, like you said, when you make so many changes, and it was quite evident that most of the squad hadn't played a game this season. It was quite evident that maybe one or two, one player in there hasn't played a game over 700 days, a competitive game anyway, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it was. It's all, as I said, when you're bringing in that many changes, it's always going to be difficult. It's always going to be difficult for players to gel. I think we all think that these players work day in, day out, all playing together, but they don't. The simple fact is they don't. You have your first team and then you might have your second team, but it was a strange mix. It was a new system. We were playing 3 at the back. We were probably to accommodate the full-backs or the wing-backs because they're not really good. And Kunku can't defend yet, but he's good going forward. John Joe Kenny can defend to a point and is not, but he doesn't really go forward. But it was to fit. It was to fit them in a way. And then you've got Tom Davis and Gabaman playing next to each other. Tom likes to sit. Gabaman's more of a, he's someone who's going to pick the ball up and carry it. That's what we brought him in for. But he clearly hasn't got those legs yet. And then Townsend, Iwobi, and then Moise Keane, who isn't like Dom, who won't hold the ball up. He likes to drop off and come and get the ball, which really, if he wants to play in the 7th team, he needs to stop doing that. So it was difficult, but I thought we started well. I actually thought we started well. We had early on, we were breaking up the play in midfield, and we were getting in quite easily. And Moise Keane had a couple of opportunities. He had one straight away where we got him through, and he put one wide. But really, he could have kept on going.
It was a good run from Iwobi, that one. Iwobi ran down centrally, and he laid it off to Nkunku, and Nkunku played it in, and it was a good save, wasn't it? Or did he hit it wide? Where he slid in. That was in the first 10 minutes.
Well, that was another one though.
Well, I thought the first 30 minutes, I thought we really controlled the match. We were sloppy, but like I said, it's a team that most of them hadn't played this season yet, so we expected it. I expected them to grow a bit more into the game, but it just seemed as time went on, we grew out of it. But
we were cutting them open. We were cutting them open quite easily in the first 20 minutes or so, and that obviously led to the goal. Tom Davis picked it up, just kept on running. Iwobi made a great run. Tom found him and he put it away. It was dead easy. It was a nice goal.
Great finish.
And to be fair, I mean, it was on a plate.
Composed.
It was a great run
took it
by
well.
Tom Davis, and then obviously after that we have the Moise Keane one, which was similar. Again, just a ball down the channel. Moise Keane was on it, and he finishes it brilliantly. And he's not offside. He's not offside. There's no way on earth he's offside. There's no way that, you know, I don't know.
There was no VAR last night.
There's no VAR when you play at bloody Championship grounds, which is just mental. But for me, that's a demonstration of where the offside rule is wrong in terms of, in the cold, hard light of day, is that when he's level. He's level. Do you know what I mean? He's level. It might just be a case of, like, maybe his kneecap is sticking out because...
I thought it was just because of his shoulder was off or something.
But that's the point.
But when I looked at it...
That's where the offside rule's completely wrong,
You see the lines on the pitch?
Yeah. That's where the offside rule's wrong, is that because he's level. They're level with each other. He's not got an advantage. He's level with them, and he gets through, and he scores. And when you haven't got VAR, that's when you should give the benefit of the doubt to the centre forward in that case, because he was level. I mean, simple as that. And he's finished. And that, to me, actually, that was the turning point of for me in the game, was that when that never went in, when that wasn't given. Sorry, Moise Keane he started sulking a bit after that. He was annoyed that goal was taken away from him. And we started to get very sloppy, and they'd been pressing us from the start, quite high up, leading to Begovic kicking, being awful. I mean, absolutely awful.
I don't know why we kept passing back to him.
I know, that was the other thing. If you know your goalkeeper can't, if your goalkeeper can't kick, then don't pass back. Find an alternative. And I thought we just started getting a little bit sloppy then, and started just turning the ball over too quickly, because we didn't have a focal point up front as such, and it just got a little bit sloppy over the pitch.
We just, after half an hour, we just ended up, we were pushed right back. Huddersfield grew into the game. They started, like you said, they were pressing us right back. And we just kept giving the ball away, and we seemed to lose our shape very easy last night, and players were all over the pitch.
Yeah.
And it just started.
Well, that's the other side of it. That's the other side of it, unfortunately, is that when we didn't have any patience, because we didn't seem to have anyone out there who had the patience. I think Tom was trying to do it. He was trying to keep the ball. But even sometimes he'll do it as well. He gets, I don't know whether they get bored or they get frustrated or they get, they just lose the way a little bit. There was no one out there. There was no one in the team who was sitting in the midfield till the second half when Andre Gomez came on. That would just use the ball effectively, get it, give it, get it back. Every ball needed to be always like a Hollywood pass.
They kept trying to play the switch to give him a bit of space.
Switch, or getting someone in who wasn't in, instead of just taking the sting out of the game. And that was the most frustrating part, is that you grow into it. We started okay, and you grow into a game. I think that just gave them a little bit of momentum. They had a great chance when they came down our left, and Kunku caught right up the pitch. Branthwaite couldn't get over. He pulled it back. Good save by Begovic. Goes back to the lad and he puts it over. And they just, like you said, they just started to get a little sniff of, we can get something here, because these are not going anywhere. And that was the most annoying part. And obviously just after that, just before half time, they had one just outside the box. Well, first of all, Kabam got robbed for the ball by Fraser Campbell, and he just curled it wide. And then they got a corner out of nothing in the last minute of the half, and it's a simple ball into the box. Michael Keane lets the man get in front of him, and it's 1-1. And it's just so unnecessary.
It was poor defender, wasn't it? I couldn't tell whose man it was, because Iwobi was in front of him.
No, it's Michael Keane's man. Even though they play zone up, but Michael Keane's behind, and you can see it's Michael Keane's man because he's trying to catch up with him, blowing out of his arse. But it's poor. It's poor again. Basic defending from a set piece.
It's just one of them. It's the same problems we had last season for me. The other teams start pressing you, and our teams just don't know how to deal with it. It just felt like that last 10-15 minutes of the first half, just the mentality was just weak. They couldn't deal with it. They couldn't get back in control of the game, and it cost us.
Well, the disappointing part is Michael Keane is a first team player. or has been in the first team, was always around the first team. Number one, him not being captain is just it blows my mind. Honestly, a player who's
Holgate was captain, wasn't he?
a player who is in on his second contract at Everton, a player who is been around the Premier League for years, a player who's played a lot of games for Everton, a lot of games in the Premier League, played for England. It's just mad that he's not the captain. But obviously, whether he doesn't want to be the captain or every manager doesn't. I think he might have captained us once, or managers don't see it in him. It's mad that Rafa Benitez has either already seen or Keane spoke to him about it, and he's already put Holgate. Now, Holgate was on the bench on Saturday. And yet he's the captain. Michael Keane's played in all 3 games. That worries me. That shows there's definitely something not right, because the captaincy can be just like tossing the coin and deciding which end you got to be at. You know what I mean? It can be a very ceremonial thing. You don't have to make a big deal of it. But that to me says everything about Michael Keane, that he doesn't want to be the captain, or the managers don't feel like he's can be the captain.
Maybe Benitez offered it him and he just went,
But that's the problem though, isn't it? If he did.
So do you think it's the confidence of Michael Keane, or do you think it's Benitez's lack of confidence?
It doesn't matter whether it's Benitez, it's every manager. Every manager who's had him at the club. I think Carlo made him captain once, I think.
Maybe didn't want to reward him for the past few.
It's not about rewarding,
games.
It's about saying who's the leader, who's the most responsible. In that team, if you were going by the most senior player on the pitch for Everton, he's the most senior player in terms of outfielders. You know, he should be the captain. And it's little things like that that really show, I think, where he is at this stage of his career.
It's weird for a 28-year-old as well. It's like he's.
It should be an honour.
It's like I was on about you. Obviously, it was a Page and exclusive. But we were talking about how centre backs get to that 24, 25 age where they mature and they read the game differently. They get their experience head starts growing, and he's still playing like he's a teenager learning the ropes.
But obviously, you've got Holgate as captain, and he's obviously would have snapped his hand off for that captaincy, because that means something to him. Whether it's a personal thing, you know, because he's back in Yorkshire or whatever, or whatever. He gets to lead the team out. I mean, that's what Michael Keane... And I know maybe people think I'm making a big deal out of this, but to me, it is a big deal. It shows a weakness.
But Michael Keane should be making it. I like to think Michael Keane said, hang on, what about me? But I can't imagine Michael Keane is the type of person to speak up about it.
Complete lack of...
He's just not a leader.
Complete lack of confidence in either they've put in him, or... I don't know, but
I don't think he has much confidence in himself, to be honest.
Do
you think he had a good game last night next to Branthwaite and Holgate?
No. To be honest, I thought Keane made the mistake for the goal. I thought
he didn't look too confident on the ball.
He never looks right in a 3 anyway. Branthwaite is obviously a young lad as well who's come back and decided that's his first game for nearly a year. He's got Nkunku playing wing back. He's got it's difficult, but again, that leadership, it's that experience you should have as a centre back to be able to deal with it. And obviously in the second half, they started the second half really well. They were very confident.
We just couldn't get over the
crowd.
It was straight back to them.
The crowd were on them. And listen, there's been a lot in the first half of just losing the ball and giving it back. They were giving it to us. I think what happened in the second half, they stopped losing the ball to us and having a little bit more of it. And obviously we got a lot of luck in terms of the goal that I honestly thought was, giving them the lead. Luckily enough, it was offside. Fraser Campbell was standing right in front of the goalkeeper. I think if he hadn't been, it would have gone in anyway. I don't think it would have been any stopping him. But that showed the frailties in our back line. 2 set pieces not dealing with it. I also think Begovic should have dealt with both of them as well.
There was 2 men unmarked in that.
Well, we've been bemoaning a tall goalkeeper, and yet we had a tall goalkeeper, and I just thought both set pieces, the goalkeeper should have come for them and should be taking them with a punch or whatever.
Did you think it was the right decision to disallow the goal?
Yeah, because he's standing in front of the goalkeepers. He's offside. Yeah, of course he was. It was right in front of the goalkeeper.
So I've seen a few people saying there's nothing wrong with it. I think
No,
they were just
they
digging.
haven't got it. They don't know what.
I think they were just digging the referees.
No, they don't know what the rules are.
The referees were, the officials were shocking last night, but it was.
He was standing.
Definite offside.
He was standing directly in front of the goalkeeper,
Hmm.
and if you stand directly in front of the goalkeeper and you're in an offside
It's in
position,
his-
you're offside. You're in the eye line.
Hmm.
If the goalkeeper can't see the ball, and to be honest, in those couple of minutes, the game got flipped on its head because obviously they didn't score, but then a minute later, Moise Keane gets sent off for what looked like nothing. Basically, two players coming together. Had a little bit of a spat right in front of the referee, but there is a picture of Moise Keane, and he has got his hand like round his throat.
On the BTEC 1000.
And I think once you do that, you give the referee a decision to make. You know, if he hadn't put his hand there, he would have got a yellow card. They both would have got a yellow card. But once he put his hand on his throat, that's a no-go area in football.
I just don't know why he reacted in the even a shoulder back. I know he's only.
He was pissed off because the goal.
I know he was only 20 whatever he is, 21. Obviously at the time we were all raving about it. It shouldn't have been a red. I only saw this morning the picture of him with his hand around his neck, and it's not good, is it? It's unacceptable. I don't want to sit here.
I don't think it's unacceptable. I just think it's stupid.
Well, that's the thing. It's an unprofessional thing to do.
Just
You won one in a cup tie and you're putting your hand around someone's
I just think
neck.
it's stupid. I think it's
lack of experience.
It's just being a dick. It's petulant. It's
and
you know what's going to happen. And to be fair, he was still pissed off because the goal had been disallowed. You could tell that. As soon as the goal went in, you could see that his head went. That he was disallowed, his head went. And that's the mad thing. If it had been given, I think you would have seen the other side of him. You would have seen relaxed, composed player who would have got more opportunities. But the game actually flipped on that decision because it meant that Rafa Benitez had to make some decisions. And to be fair, he did. He made them. You know, he brought. He'd already
brought Gomez on, so then he brought Gray on.
Yeah, Gomez had come on. He brought Dean had come on at left back.
Yeah,
and those subs actually got hold of the game because they offered very little from that. They'd obviously had one brilliant shot before that, which Begovic had tipped over, and that was the one that led to the corner for the goal. And that was the last when they scored, which was disallowed. I think that was like the last meaningful thing they did in the half.
Before the red card, that was the peak of the game.
That was it.
The pitch, but when we ran the subs, it was a bit of an outball and managed to get us up the pitch a bit.
Well, it
quicker.
wasn't just that. I think we got a grip of the game. I think Nkunku was. It wasn't. He was just getting forward all the time, but once he stopped going forward, he can't. He's not much of a defender. So therefore, bringing Dean on, give us that stability. He knows how to defend. He knows how to get forward. He knows how to measure that. Whereas Nkunku, as a young player, I don't think he quite knows how to do that. Andre Gomez, actually, for me, was the biggest difference. Him coming on, grabbing hold of the ball, actually being a leader on the pitch, slowing things down, quickening them up, just being better on the ball, link and play. I thought he was really good when he came on, and it was interesting that he took Tom Davis off and left Gbamin on because Gbamin, after about half an hour, had been. He'd been struggling, to say the least. He didn't have a great game. He'd been struggling. So the fact that he left him on for 90 minutes, because he obviously could have had the option of bringing on, say, Decore and really getting hold of the midfield, but he left him on.
I think he was better in the last 20 minutes. There was a bit of play with him. I don't think Townsend had a very good game either. In that last 20 minutes, I think Townsend grew into the game a bit more in the second half, and I think there was a nice few plays with him and Gbamin on there.
But let's just have a little look at Gbamin's numbers. So touches 52, pass accuracy 84%.
I thought it'd be a lot less than that. To be honest,
duels 6 out of 9, successful dribbles 1 out of 1 tackles 2. So his numbers there
are solid,
aren't terrible. It was just, I think it was just that he was, in terms of like, he lumbered around the pitch. Now, a player that has been out for 2 years. Nearly to the day.
There's no competitive game for 730 odd days.
2 years, literally. Watford at home 2 years ago was the last time he played. It's the last time he started a game of football.
When was his last 90?
Can't remember if he played 90 in that. But
He didn't play 90 in the Florida Cup, did he?
No. But he hasn't played. Yeah, he's only started one game for Everton. That was against Watford 2 years ago. I can't remember if he completed the game.
So to get 90 minutes.
So to get 90
that's
minutes.
probably why he kept him on.
To get 90 minutes under his belt was huge. And I'll be honest, after about 30 minutes, you could see he wasn't really dealing with the pace. But that 90 minutes, that confidence in his legs and in his head are massively important for him. You know, I heard some terrible shouts after the game, having a go at him. Hadn't played football for 2 years. You've got to think about that from a mental stance.
So that would have been the most intense fastest thing he's done for a long time. It's a championship team.
It's not even that. It's playing 90 minutes of football in a competitive match. This is I mentioned it a lot in the summer when people were like, will Gbamin start the season like this? Like, don't put pressure on him. Let him. I always thought that game was the game he'd start. That would be his first game. And I think now it's a case of, now he's got that 90 minutes. It's why he didn't come on Saturday for me. You don't introduce a player that you're a little bit unsure of what level they're at into a game like that. But now after that 90 minutes, the manager now might go, well, the next game against Burnley, might bring him on for 10 minutes at the end, or whatever, and then we might give him 20 minutes, or we might give him half an hour in a game, and then in the next round we might start him in the next round again, and just use these games to just build up that fitness. There's no need to rush Gbamin because I know people go, oh, he's this, he's that, he's doing that. It doesn't matter. He's been out for 2 years. There's no need to rush him. Just let him. He'll be important when he's important. He'll be important when Alan needs a rest or Decore needs a rest. That's when might be introduced. At the moment, those two are doing their job. So it's important to just let him build up his fitness gradually and naturally. And I was just really pleased for him last night that he played. It doesn't matter how he played, even though his numbers look quite good there. It doesn't matter how he played, it's the fact that he played. And that's really important.
Who do you think was your man of the match for the game?
My man of the match was Iwobi.
Iwobi?
Yeah.
Well, let's have a look at Iwobi's stats.
What a seamless link. Touches 29.
That's surprising.
Pass accuracy 86. 1 out of 4 duels, 1 goal and 2 interceptions. Sorry. And obviously Iwobi played a big part in the second goal because obviously we got hold of the game, and Iwobi went into the false 9 once Moise Keane went off. Started trying to be the link, and before that, Moise Keane we had no player linking between him and Moise Keane in the midfield.
There was like the two behind the striker, wasn't there? And
it wasn't working.
Times they were wide.
They were too far away. They were too far away from Moise Keane.
There was times where he'd pick the ball up centrally, and he'd get it forward and he'd lay it, that's what I like about him when he's central and he gets the ball.
But this is why Richarlison's such an important player for us, because he fills that gap by running with the ball. And Mari Gray to a lesser extent, where Iwobi doesn't quite do that, maybe just needs a little bit more confidence in doing that. But obviously, the ball, Gomez picked the ball up, a give and go with Iwobi, found him in space, pulled it back, and Townsend, I didn't realise, when he swung it across, I thought defender will just kick through this. Yeah. But Townsend just got a toe to it, and it's in the back of the net, and
top of the net,
right in front of the Everton fans. They go mental. And we never looked back. And obviously, so Iwobi got a goal. He had a pre-assist. And he's done well in the 3 games. Obviously, coming on against Southampton, played well against Leeds, keeping the shape, not doing nothing stupid.
Just doing the job he's meant to do.
Manager's giving him confidence. He's not really stuck out on the wing like he had been under Carlo Ancelotti and under Marco Silva as well. But that's where, if we could get a right back, that's where it'd be so important if we got a right back. Get a right back who's up and down that right-hand side all game, and letting, say, Iwobi or a Townsend, he's on that right-hand side, just tuck in a little bit, and add those players just behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That's why a right-back's always been so important.
Well, he was on the right against Leeds, wasn't he? It was that one run inside where he came inside, he left his man, and he played that one ball in. If you see more of that, then maybe a right-back will allow him to do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's where a right-back would be so important to do that.
So do you think his best position is centrally then?
Yeah, he's a number 10. He's not a wide player, or he's a number, or he plays in a 2 behind the 1, or even essentially in a 3 behind the 1. That's his best position. He's not a wide player. He doesn't cross. He's not a very good crosser. He's a give and go player. He's a link player. He wants the ball moving quickly. He needs people on his wavelength. In the Southampton game and in this game, he's got, again, this word, whether you believe it or not, he's got the pre-assist. But that's important, because that's what Pienaar used to do for us all the time. Pienaar used to be the player who give it to Baines, and Baines would be the player who put it in the box, and then we'd score. It's what actually James Rodriguez did really well last season. He was given the pre-assist.
Was that switch to Dean, wasn't it?
Well, that's what it was. He's the link. He's the player who links it all together. And if you've got players on his wavelength, I think he's a talented player. It's just that when he's stuck out wide, you're not going to get anything from him, because he hasn't got that bit of pace. He's got a trick, but it's a trick which, if you're pretty much one-footed, it has to be a very good trick. So I like him in the position he's playing. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's been amazing there, but you're seeing shoots of recovery, and the manager's got faith in him, and that's the most important thing. And obviously, once we got that goal, we never looked back. We never looked in danger. We had 10 men on the pitch for half an hour, and yet we got some control. And that to me shows the difference in the team that started and the team that ended. Even though it was 10 men, the team that ended had a little bit more of a balance. It had a bit more control. Gomez, Gray, Townsend, I thought was much better in that half an hour than he had been previously.
Well, it was like you need when you go down to 10 men, you need your experienced heads who can take control of the situation. And I think Gray did well in that situation. Obviously, Dean going in at left back, he was disciplined, got us up the pitch easily. Townsend took control of the situation. He did quite well. Obviously, Gomez in there as well. Yeah. Gomez played really well.
The irony is, I think Dean came. The last time Dean played the Huddersfield, I think he got sent off. So it's an irony that he actually came on after someone got sent off. But he came on and he helped control the back line, because he wasn't going mad, he wasn't going forward, he was just keeping a rigid back four. And we dealt with everything they had. They were putting balls into the box, and we dealt with them pretty. There was a couple of times, there was a corner, I think, that zipped past everyone. Begovic came to cut, he came and then he stopped, and so I wasn't entirely confident in Begovic's performance, but we got through it. And as I said, the last after we scored, they were never getting back into it. They had no creativity to get back into it. Don't forget, their goal came from a set piece, and the goal that disallowed got come from a set piece.
I thought they looked goosed after an hour, to be honest.
They did.
They just got slowing down.
And maybe there was more. I think once we made the changes and we got control, when you're down to 10, when the opposition's down to 10 minutes, on you then to maybe go out and win the game. And I just don't think they had any idea how to win the game. I think first half, first half and into the second half, we just kept on giving the ball to them. But once we got players who weren't just going to give the ball to them, it sorted itself out. So it wasn't a good performance. It was what you find is in these rounds, first couple of rounds is, last season, don't forget, last season we played 3 games on the bounce. We played Salford, Fleetwood, West Ham in week after week after week. And it was good for switching up the team and bringing players in and confidence. And we obviously won 7 out of 7 because of that, because of those games ahead of that international break before we played Liverpool. And it helped us in confidence, but it also gave us a little bit of overconfidence, I think, as well. It's always difficult, because you always want to go. You always think the manager's not taking it seriously when he changes teams. I think the last time we went out early, I think it might have been Marcus Silva in his first year.
It was. I think the first game was it Fulham? We got knocked out in the second round, or was that Martinez?
No, we played at home under Marcus Silva, and we had Luckman playing, Kieran Dowell playing. I think was it Norwich, and it never worked. Those players never worked because they were too young, and you come out feeling deflated. Manager's not taking it seriously. But what it is it's not that. And I think I got some perspective on this more like last year. Is that because they were so quick last year, he had to change his team. He had to. So last year I was like, well, you've got to, because you're playing this game, then that game. We were playing midweek for 3 weeks in a row at the start of the season, so you had to change the team. So it was, you put a team out there on paper that looks like it's capable of winning. Is it our best team? No. But should it be winning? Yes. And it was the same with last night. Last night, there was an opportunity to rest Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's got an injury, Richarlison, who's been out, Allen, the core, who are going to play, both going to play a lot of football, Yerry Mina, opportunity to give him a break because we know what his injury record is like, opportunity to play Moise Kean, opportunity to play Gbamin, opportunity to give
Branthwaite,
Branthwaite and Kunku, John Joe Kenny a go. So there was Tom Davies, who hasn't played this season. There was an opportunity, but he was still there. A lot of those players have played first team football. Moise Kean played Champions League football last year, played against some of the best. You know what I mean? He should be capable of playing on a night like that. And it is a risk because they haven't played together, but it's a calculated risk because you get someone like Gbamin, you get to give him 90 minutes. That's huge. You get to say to Tom Davies, you're still in my thoughts, have a good game. I thought he was fine. A Holgate, a Moise Kean, all of them. And Kunku, who won't play a lot, and actually probably oddly could do with a loan, but we haven't got a backup left back.
Well, it like I said before, the transfer window's still open, so it gives clubs a chance to come look at John Joe Kenny. That little,
but I don't look at it like that. I don't look at it like that. You have to give Seamus Coleman a rest. You have to. You can't play him.
Well, that's the same with Mina, isn't it? He's not going to play 30 game season, so when you can give him a rest,
you've got to
take that risk.
But ultimately, that team is good enough to beat Huddersfield. It's got to be good enough.
In the end, I suppose, with a little help from the first.
And if we had gone out, if we'd gone out last night, say, would you have been?
I want to wish you went back and changed the squad. I'd be like, he put a squad out that was more than capable of beating that Huddersfield team, and they bottled it.
We bottled it.
If we'd have got knocked out, if you'd have gone and got beat 3-1 rather than we.
Yeah. See, he took Ben Godfrey and he opted not to use him because he said he wasn't sure. And I just think that, he said after the game, he said, he was asked about it, Rafa Benitez, and he said, people are saying I'm taking this, I'm not serious about the cup competition. He just said, I am, but I've got to give players a chance. And to me, that's got to be, if you've got I've seen a lot of people as well last night saying, squad's terrible. Look at the state of this. Look at it. It was a good squad. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that though. 500 million spent, and there are backup players.
Oh yeah.
When you've got some teams in our league who their backup team could beat our first team, but how often is that team ever going to play together? Because when it comes to big games, actual games that mean something, players will play hurt. Players who are not quite fit will play. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has played 2 Premier League games but missed last night. If last night had been a Premier League game, Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have played. That's what I'm saying. You wouldn't never have that team playing. You might have 1 or 2 of them in your team when you've got injuries and suspensions. And
we did last season.
And you'd appreciate that.
The only players that played in the Salford game from the first team, Luca Dean played, Don played against Fleetwood. Did Richarlison play against Fleetwood?
He did, he scored.
Yeah.
Don went off at half-time against Fleetwood. Richarlison scored a couple, I think. But it's a process. You're playing a championship team, you put a team out that have got Premier League experience, you expect to beat them.
That are more than capable of beating them.
And we did beat them. And that's all that matters.
It was scruffy, but...
It was scruffy. It wasn't succinct. But you know what? A lot of our first team players aren't always succinct. But it's still early in the season. He's like you just saying there, he's got to see some players. He might go now and go, right, we definitely need to bring in. He might say something like, we need a backup right back. Try and get rid of John Joe. Bring a right back in. Maybe that's why they've been looking at the kid at Rangers, because he's like, he can be the backup right back, and through the season we'll give him opportunities to cross over with Seamus, and by the end of the season he's our number 1 right back or something like that. That's why I think right back's so important, because I think the backup's not good enough. Nkunku could do with going on loan, but he is the backup left back, but he could actually do with going on loan. Anthony Gordon wasn't involved last night, so he clearly is going to go on loan, it looks like. And it also brilliant that Gomez comes on and changes the game. He hasn't kicked the ball this season, which is brilliant, because it means you leave the Corey on the bench. You know, Delph played half an hour. He won't. Dean, he won't mind that. God knows where Delph was. He won't mind that.
Maybe they didn't want a cup tie.
You know, Holgate and Keane probably won't start on Saturday. Unless, you know, Ben Godfrey, I imagine, will start alongside Mina. So, you know, Moise Keane. I mean, we haven't got a backup centre forward now. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's a run out. It's nothing more. We got the win. It's like another pre-season game for some of those players. And we've got the win, and we're in the at, and we're in.
Just hope for a home draw in the next round.
Home draw against some no mark.
Did Brentford get knocked? They were 1-0 down, weren't they? Against.
I have no idea. I'd pay no attention.
Plymouth or someone like that.
So hopefully a home draw against some no mark in the next round. That'll do me. That will do me.
Let's have a look at the stats.
Here we go.
So obviously Everton 2-1. I think that's the main stat. But shots 10 for Huddersfield, 8 for Everton. Shots on target for Huddersfield 4. We had 4 also. Big chances 1 for Huddersfield.
See, that's
3
the
to
one, there,
Everton.
isn't it? Big chances 3. That's the one, isn't it? That's the one where you're like, that should be where you're taking the game away from them.
Obviously only one of the big chances was one of the goals. Obviously Towson was a big chance. And then passes 481 to Huddersfield, 439 to us. We're down to 10 men.
Yeah, of course you do. To have possession that close with only 10 men is pretty good. So there you go. We're through. We're into the next round. It doesn't matter. We've given opportunities to players. Let us know your thoughts in the comments about the game, on Gbamin getting 90 minutes, on Moise Keane. What do you think of his sending off and also the offside goal? And anything really, let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to watch the final words live, make sure you join us on Patreon. We are currently doing this live, and we will stay on after to
have a chat
talk
with
to
some
patrons, do the comments with patrons, see what they thought of the game. We'll do that live. The link is in the description and it'll be on the screen. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time on Toffee TV.